Okay, hello. My name's Akiko Fujita. I'm with CNBC, and this is my second year at Innovfest. Very excited to be hosting this fireside chat. Just a brief introduction. For those of you who've traveled to Indonesia, you're very familiar with Go-Jek. They, of course, are the ride-sharing company, although now you've evolved into something much bigger. Launching the app back in 2015, focused on motorbikes first, but today they are a unicorn in Indonesia. Valued at more than $1 billion. They've got some big name backers, including Sequoia, as well as Rakuten. So I'd love to just get right into the story. We were talking about this off stage, but a lot of people may not know that you actually started in 2010 as a call center.
Yeah.
So how do you go from a call center to a ride-sharing company?
So first of all, we're really happy to be here at Innovfest, and really grateful for the invitation. When it comes to Gojek's history, the idea for anybody who's been to Indonesia, this concept of ojeks and going around on bikes has existed for years, and it's funny because I was born and raised in Indonesia, and you know how you always say, parents are always like, hey, don't talk to strangers? Well, in Indonesia, you ride bikes with strangers almost every single day. The guys are around, and Nadim had this idea. So Nadim, who's our founder, he had this idea of, hey, why do I have to go out and find this guy waiting under on some crossroads on some corner? Why not be able to actually call him and get him to do stuff for us? So at that point, he was just collecting numbers from the guys that he was using to go send documents, to send keys, to go buy something at the supermarket, and he decided to make that a business, and it started out as a call center. So from 2010 until 2014, it was strictly a call center. So in December 2014, we had about 600 drivers and 16,000 customers, including one of our first deliveries for Lazada was a Go-Jek delivery way back in, I believe it was 2013. But then we had the opportunity with a little bit of investment to make an app, and the app launched in January 2015, and you can say the rest is kind of history now, because
Some bumps along the way, as any startup has.
Yeah, some incredible bumps. So the initial target for the company was to hit 40,000 orders a day by December 2015. So everything, the entire business, and all of the funds, everything was earmarked to hit this target in 52 weeks. 6 weeks later, we had hit the target already. And it was a mad rush to kind of make sure that the systems were working. At that point, we had only launched with Ride, with Courier, and with Shopping. We didn't even have GoFood then. And very, very quickly, we realized that people were using the shopping service to go buy food. So within 3 months of launching that, we had started innovating into our new product. So GoFood now is actually the second largest food delivery startup in the world outside of China.
Wow.
In terms of the number of deliveries. So in the first 14 months, so from January 2015 till about March 2016, there were 15 million food deliveries completed in Indonesia.
It sounds like this is a pretty organic process. I mean, you launched the app in 2015, and I want to backtrack a bit here, because you say there was already a culture in place, really, of hiring these ojeks in Indonesia, but I wonder if the company got some pushback on the initial idea. We already have this service in place. Why do we have to all put it on an app?
Well, there was some initial pushback, and what we had managed to do is to go out and educate some of these men and women who were out doing this type of business, and the education was pretty simple. With this piece of technology, instead of doing 3 to 4 orders a day, you can do 5 to 8 orders a day. You don't have to wait for certain times, rush hour or the morning rush. You can take orders 24/7, And you can do different types of business. So not only taking people from A to B, but you can send documents, you can buy people food, you can go shopping for them. So all of a sudden, this became a great opportunity for a lot of these guys to change their life. Not only that, as part of our driver program, we've helped provide them access to things that they wouldn't have access to otherwise. For example, bank accounts. Every single GoJek driver has a BCA bank account that we open on their behalf in order to make payments easier. They have access to life insurance. They have access to health insurance for them and their family. And for anyone who's actually come to Jakarta and tried to talk to one of these guys, their overall quality of life has changed for the most part. What is really important for me is when I hear these stories and these drivers talk about how they're sending their kids to university because they finally have the stability in order to do that. So one of my favorite stories is, a driver was telling me that since he came onto GoJek, his child's destiny is now in his own hands because he has that stability to go out and work as much as he needs to in order to send his kids to school.
When you look at the market, it's interesting because GoJek has been pretty dominant in Indonesia, but you were sort of a latecomer to the market. Uber was already there, Grab was there in its app form. Why do you think that GoJek has been able to succeed despite being the last player in the market in this space?
I would say it's through smart innovation. Show of hands, who's been to Jakarta? All right, who's been stuck in traffic in Jakarta? Who likes being stuck in traffic in Jakarta? There, nobody. So when the other guys came into the market, they launched four-wheelers. And the problem with four-wheelers is that, Jakarta has 19.5 million private vehicles. So whether you're stuck in my car or your car or their car, you're still stuck. And that's where that smart innovation came in, because we were already focused entirely, and back at that time, we were only doing motorbikes. On the efficiencies of being able to get around the city, not just around the traffic, but being able to go into some of these small back roads. If you ever take a GoJek in Jakarta and the guy goes kind of off-road a little bit, you actually get to discover parts of Jakarta that you didn't know existed. And that kind of idea of smart innovation has permeated throughout our growth and our evolution, because we've started adding, right now we have 16 products, of which we are market leaders in 15 of them. And with this in mind, we've kind of set our own definition of mobility. Because when you go to some of these talks about transport and cities, everyone talks about mobility and the future of driverless cars and artificial intelligence and all that other stuff. But that's the concept of mobility in terms of getting somebody from A to B, right? We take a look at mobility as building an ecosystem around you to be able to help you do the things that you do every single day. Which is where food comes in, shopping. We just launched Go Shop, which is basically you can send a driver into any store in Indonesia and get him to buy something that is not listed anywhere else. And I'll share a personal example. So. Right before I went home for Christmas, I had to run 6 errands, and I actually mapped out these 6 errands in Jakarta, and it was 66.3 kilometers of distance between all of them. And according to Google Maps, it would have taken me 3 hours, and I was like, yeah, Google Maps, it's not going to take me 3 hours. So then I calculated, okay, if I actually wanted to do this, how long would it take? And I would split things into 2 days. So it would take me 2 days to do 6 things, right? And that's what I mean in terms of thinking about mobility from a different perspective, because A to B is linear. And if we try to do something in a linear manner, then it would take me 2 days to do this. With GoJek, I ordered 6 guys, and I had everything done within 2 hours. Because one guy went to pick up, cat food. One guy went to pick up something for my parents. One guy went to, pick up something else I'd purchased. And for me, I was just sitting in the office, right? And all of these things were happening around me.
So mobility, as you point out, has been the key to trying to expand GoJek and tackling the Indonesian market. But it's interesting because oftentimes we talk about this market as if it's one unified market, but it's so fragmented as is. And I wonder if you think when you look at your competitors, and not to single out Uber and Grab, but when you've got these companies who have a foothold in so many different markets, if they tend to overlook that with Indonesia. I mean, what do you think is the one thing that so many foreign players, when they come into the market, discount in Indonesia, and why is it so hard to crack the market?
That's a great question. For me, I'm a brand guy, right? And I think, it's when entering a new market and when looking into new things, there's a little bit of EQ that's needed. We're talking about AI and robots, and everything's just becoming very technical, very data-driven. But we never we never go down into, how do people actually work? How do they actually feel? And, is this actually solving a problem, right? One of the reasons why GoFood is so successful is that, and this is the domino effect of traffic. F&B in Jakarta and in other cities is one of the most difficult businesses to get into because 1, you have to find a place, 2, you have to actually make a concept, and 3, you actually have to get people there. And getting people there is the most difficult portion of it. We have partners on GoFood who have actually built industrial kitchens. You can't actually go to that restaurant because that restaurant doesn't exist. But they've built businesses that, in some cases are making tens of thousands of dollars a month.
So these are businesses built just for GoFood?
These are businesses just built for GoFood. There's a couple of examples. There was one that we just did a bit of a feature on. Before GoFood, they were taking about 10 to 15 orders a day. Now they do about 400 to 500 a day. And they're selling hundreds of thousands of their product every single month.
Who's using the services? I mean, let's take GoFood as an example. Are these millennials? Do the users tend to skew younger? Are you seeing much older groups? I mean, who would you say is that GoJek user?
This is really funny because I came from a marketing and advertising background. You always talk to clients and they're like, our target audience is everybody. And in our case, it's actually everybody. Because we have 100,000 restaurants listed, everything from your side of the street satay seller all the way up to some of the most expensive restaurants in town. So we can't really zoom in on whether it's one type of audience or another. In fact, we've had stories before of people testing GoFood. So there was this one guy who ordered a single satay stick.
So there's no minimum on GoFood?
No, there is no minimum.
Okay.
So his delivery fee was 9 times the price of the satay stick because the satay stick was like 1,000 rupiah. And he wrote a blog post about it because he was just like, well, I ordered a satay stick on GoFood and it was delivered to me. The driver was really confused because he's just like, why do you just want one? But just going back to what you were saying, we take a look at it from the perspective where with all these things in place and with this different concept of mobility, we're actually allowing people to buy time. Right? That's one thing money can't buy. But if you figure out a way to incorporate some of the services, you can actually save time. In the case that I shared before, I saved almost 14 hours of time, right? And different people want to use that in different ways. right? Some of the younger kids on the platform, we've realized that they're entrepreneurs, and they use that time in order to build their own businesses. On the other hand, we have families that are buying meals for a family get together, and that saves the family time so that they can spend more of it together. So.
We use the term disruptor so often when we talk about tech startups, but in this case, it applies because you really are shaking up these traditional businesses that have been in place. I wonder what kind of pushback you initially got from the government. We've seen ride sharing, home sharing get a lot of regulatory pushback over in the US as well as Europe. What is the big concern now? Did you find that the government was quite hesitant in pushing through? I mean, what kind of pushback did you get?
So in December 2015, so about 2 weeks before I had joined GoJek, the transport minister at that time had banned online transport. So for about 24 hours we were illegal, and my friends were messaging me and saying, haha, you're out of a job, and you haven't even started. But just like everywhere else, it's a work in progress. And it's a case of an open mind on both sides to find something that works.
When you say a work in progress, what were the big concerns that they brought to you?
There's just there's always this case of traditional versus non-traditional business, and what I mean by work in progress is finding that middle ground where everything can coexist, right? There was an interesting statistic that came out of the Indonesian Department of Statistics in that the online application industry, if you will, added 500,000 jobs to the Indonesian economy last year, right? And that actually lowered the unemployment rate in Indonesia by 0.5%. So these are the types of things that we are working on with not just the national government, but with local governments as well, is to find a way for it to coexist, because at the end of the day, there are positive benefits that are coming out of it. From a food and F&B perspective, it's growing. And it's providing entrepreneurs and small businesses with the chance to actually tackle things like heavy traffic or huge distances in order to operate.
Let's talk about your payments business, because that's been a huge growth area for you. What do you think has been the key driver on that front? Why have you had so much success there? Because you're talking about something like GoFood that makes sense. You're going from ride sharing to that, but payments has really gone beyond what you had initially expected.
So with payments, it was relatively simple, because 65% of Indonesia is still unbanked, and with an incredibly low credit card penetration rate, with an incredibly low debit card penetration rate, there needed to be a way for the unbanked to actually come into the digital economy, and that goes back to what I had mentioned before about smart innovation. So you can't actually use a credit card on GoJek, right? Because we wanted to focus on direct debit. We wanted to focus on top-ups. One of the most recent innovations that we've put together is you can actually top up your GoJek account from a driver directly, which automatically gives us 250,000 top-up points all around Indonesia, and that allows people who may not have that bank account to come in and become part of the ecosystem.
You've found success, but a lot of that success has been based in Jakarta. How do you scale this business, especially when a lot of the solutions you've come up with are so uniquely tailored towards the problems in Jakarta?
Well, we've actually expanded to 25 cities now, all over Indonesia, and if you go to some of them, the problem of traffic is not unique to Jakarta. You go to Medan, you go to Surabaya, you go to Jogja, you go to Bali. It's there. this whole idea of, and it goes back to what I talked about from a mobility perspective, right? Whether there's traffic or not, there's things in your life that you can theoretically outsource to somebody to allow you to have that flexibility and time to do whatever you want. I mean, even on days where there's no traffic, people use the service because they realized my time is worth more than me going out and doing something like this. So I'll get GoJek to do it for me.
So you're in more than 24 cities now, but in Indonesia.
Yes.
Do you have your eye on other markets in Southeast Asia as well, or is the idea here to try and dominate one market, essentially defend your territory without scaling further?
So in terms of expansion, we'll see.
That's not a no.
We'll see. And in terms of Indonesia itself, we have a long way to go. The internet penetration rate is only about 40% right now. Despite the fact that we already have clocked in close to 40 million downloads, there's still an incredible opportunity for growth in the country itself, and we'll continue to apply these smart innovations in order to do that.
Let's talk about valuation, because you are a unicorn, valued at more than $1 billion. There are recent reports that suggest another announcement may be coming soon on another $1 billion. I know you can't comment on that, but you are facing competition from Uber as well as Grab, although they're still lagging. How much of that is a threat to GoJek's business? How concerned are you about market share?
I mean, honestly, we go back and focus on who our customers are and what they need and how we can better serve them. I mean, there's always going to be competition, whether it's this today or something else in the future.
But how do you stay a step ahead in that market? Because like you say, that competition is there. You've offered up solutions that are unique to that market, but now the playbook's there. Mm-hmm. And Uber or Grab can take a look at that and say, okay, maybe we didn't succeed at first, but now we know how the market is. What does GoJek need to do to stay a step ahead?
We just constantly keep innovating and constantly focus on really expanding on this unique concept of mobility that the other guys don't have.
Let's talk about the future, because oftentimes when we talk about ride sharing or just the transportation space in general, talk about artificial intelligence, the increasing use of AI, self-driving cars as well. Does GoJek have an eye on investments on that front to try and stay a step ahead as well? I mean, what do you envision 10 years down the line in this space?
We're definitely looking into different types of technologies that are relevant to the Indonesian market. I would love to see a self-driving car in Jakarta and see how it navigates the traffic.
We were saying this earlier, that could probably, that alone could solve the solution. Perhaps. Yeah. Maybe it's on the drivers.
On a California highway, it's easy for a car to see what's happening. If you're in Jakarta and all the bikes are flying by, I'd think the sensors would overload. But yeah, I mean, we're definitely looking into different types of things. At the end of the day, it comes down to how can we build a business that's not efficient just for us, but it really focuses on making our customers and our drivers' lives better.
Okay, great. Says time's up. Yeah, great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks very much, Akiko and Piotr.